Greetings, Traveler Challenger here. Today I am playing Diablo 2 Resurrected as an Amazon, but I will be using only one item rarity at all times, meaning I can only equip one rune word, one set item, and so on and so forth. This was suggested by one of the comments under my video and I actually could not stop thinking about it, so let the challenge begin. Rules. Using only one item rarity at a time for each slot for me and my mercenary, using charms and sockets, run ends with killing Bale on hell. This is hardcore run, one life, no deaths. This is solo self-found, no shared stash used. So first of all, there are 10 slots that can be utilized to wear items. 2 hands, body armor, helmet, gloves, boots, 2 rings, belt and neck. But there are only 7 item rarities in the game. Normal, magic, rare, set, unique rune word I will count as a different, and crafted. So I decided to, let's say, introduce some more. If I will find plain ethereal item, I can use it as a different rarity. Also, socketed items that will not be turned into rune words, just plain old gemmed pieces. That makes 9. Oh, and I will not count arrows or bolts in this, since they are needed for shooting anyway. Amazon starts with 2 white items right away, so trusty buckler is going away, and I am left only with javelin, so I went into Den of Evil when right out of the bat I found this ethereal socketed club. So in this case I could either use it for a rune word, socket with gems, jewels, random runes, or leave it as is. Each would be a different rarity. Den of Evil cleared, another skill point acquired. I chose Amazon because I did not play her in a while and she can be quite versatile with her builds. But for now I don't want to choose anything in particular, so let's get Critical Strike that gives chance for, well, Critical Strike, and move on with my life to end another, in this case Blood Raven, for which I will get another bit of help. That much needed in the beginning. This set of items already feels so weird, like really makeshift random stuff. The worst thing is to remember to not pick up absolutely everything so it won't auto-equip, as I would just forget about certain pieces along the way. I found this free open socket hunter's bow in Forgotten Tower, which would be a perfect vessel for poison weapon for some time. So now I just need enough runes to make some rune words and potentially stupid items, since I can have only one rune word and really there are no good early game weapons for Amazon in that slot. So I will just opt for stealth armor and most likely malice for Act 2 mercenary. Time to get couple more skills, first dodge and avoid, both granting chance to not get hit by either melee or missile, and then magic arrow that converts some of the physical damage into magic, with increased attack rating and damage, and multiple shot that fires several arrows depending on skill level, but each one is dealing a little less damage than normal. This last one will be useful later when I will have a poison bow. Together with Honor we get rid of the Smith to get Malus. Thanks to Charcy, we will have an ability to imbue a normal level item into a rare one, which can be very beneficial if I will miss something in particular slot in the future. My weapon or skills aren't particularly impactful yet, so Andariel fight was more of a war of attrition, just running around trying not to die. In retrospect, I should have get fire-based mercenary archer to get more damage. Sadly, Spider Queen dropped only rare items, but both ring and boots are pretty nice, so I will keep them. In Act 2 I need a different mercenary. The most reasonable option seems to be the one with Blessed Aim, for that increased attack rating. I equipped him with some random stuff found along the way and we went into the sewers. I also did put some more points into multiple shot, but for now it is just too mana hungry to use it consistently, and I will need some form of mana regeneration. Anyway, Radamant is dead. Now we quickly grab the cube from Halls of the Dead, and because I hit level 17 I can now enter into a new era of equipment. First of all, a rune word, stealth in body armor. Overall just an amazing piece that will help me with movement speed, mana regen and so on. Second, I will lose my gemmed cap, and as of now, 3-tal gemmed hunter's bow will take its place. This is one of the greatest weapons for Amazon early on. And lastly, a nice Malice polearm for my mercenary for absolutely crushing damage and ability to open wounds to bleed his targets. With my new beautiful stuff, I can now finally clear something more than single target at a time, and going through the game is going much smoother than before. Stuffing an entire room with poison and watching them die is just amazing, and well, this is the first amulet that I can use. Short-lived, but still. This doesn't look half bad. I am missing set piece and crafted, but really it is going good for now at least, and I think that the belt slot will be permanently occupied by just plain ethereal items, since it still can hold potions after it is broken. My enjoyment of the amulet was quite short, but still better than nothing. I got us some thawing potions for cold resistance and onto Duriel now. I don't like fighting him like this, but I don't have much choice. So shoot until mercenary is alive, then shoot, run, and let the poison do the work. In a couple of seconds of fight was over, and I was very lucky as he dropped a unique helmet, Quaff of Glory, which by no means is the greatest thing ever, but it has the ability to blind targets upon hit, which might be very useful. Beginning of the act, I picked another passive. This time it's Penetrate. It simply increases my attack rating. Nothing spectacular, but very useful. I got cornered out of my own stupidity by spiders, but poison is still doing quite nicely, decimating the population of those 8-legged bastards, and I managed to get both Jade Figurine and Eye of Kalim at the same time. Now to gather necessary things like Kalim's Brain, then Black Book for some stats, Kalim's Heart, and finally onto the Council that had no idea what hit them. Over 200 damage in a single shot dealt over 5 seconds is still nothing to scoff at, and really those demons feel it, as I tear through them one by one. Turned out that while I was looking for the entrance to level 3 of Durance, I happened to find a teleporter just around the corner. So this might be a good chance for me to farm some gear, so just before the boss I picked up another skill, Guided Arrow. It fires a single shot that seeks a target on its own, and does not rely on attack rating, making it hit all the time, and it provides some damage. But for the poison application, it seems to be the right call, as I can just shoot once and hide or run around until he is dead. Very strangely, he dropped 2 rare Gladiuses, which I don't think I ever saw him dropping an exceptional base of anything. Well, it seems that for now Mephisto did not want to give me anything useful. I tried killing him several times, but always it was just a rain of magic and rare drops that were not really useful at all. So I just proceeded to Act 4, and because I hit level 24, I picked Strafe as my next skill. It has synergy with Guided Arrow and Multiple Shot, but I don't think I ever used it in Diablo 2. For me, it is an equivalent of Paladin's Zeal, as it attacks up to 5 targets at this level, with increased damage and attack rating. This might be a very nice way to burst monsters, although it is very mana hungry. After dealing with Isual, I decided to take some more points into buffing Strafe. I quite like this playstyle, but to be honest, I have no idea how good or bad it is. If I remember correctly, this skill was bugged for quite some time, rendering it rather unusable, but for the time being, it will do. Maybe some item drop will make me change builds later, but let's see. With Hephaestus' death, I can now smash the Soulstone, and to be honest, I am not expecting any good rune, although Ord is not bad. But I got Perfect Sapphire, which allows me to craft something. Amulet and Ring requires Full or Amn respectively. But Gloves, they required Ord rune and they guarantee to get knockback, which for this particular build will be quite beneficial. So I crafted Hit Power Gloves, Beast Grip. They are honestly quite bad, but it is another slot I will be able to fill at level 29. Since I am planning to get Valkyrie anyway, let's get last 2 needed skills. Decoy, which creates a duplicate of the character that draws enemies' attention, very useful for range builds, and Evade, which grants chance to dodge attacks while moving, kind of a better way of dodge and avoid. In Chaos Sanctuary I found this magic amulet with staggering 33% magic find. I have to give up the ring as it's taking the very same slot, but I feel that this might help a lot with the drops, so I set to test it out on Diablo, which by this point looks more of the same. Run around dodging attacks, occasionally shooting an arrow to trigger the poison. Once he was down, he mocked me with the drops, as he decided that unique gnarled staff Spire of Lazarus is exactly what I need. Let me tell you, it isn't, not in the slightest. Time to break the siege to get the possibility of socketing items. Here it might come in handy for different reasons. I can either make some good weapon if I will be missing one, or maybe just add another socket to a unique or set item if I happen to find a good one that will be worthy of that. I am not doing so hot in terms of resistances, so a bump in form of 10% to all of them with the scroll is nice, but maybe Anya will give me some nice rare weapon. Damn, it's a spear. A bit too risky to run that build with my setup. In a crystalline passage I found a set heavy belt. This is an infernal sign, just some life and defense, but with enough strength I will be able to replace my broken ethereal stash for some slight benefit and first green item. I managed to hit level 29 just before the Ancients fight, so now I can use my gloves. Barbarians don't seem to be affected by the knockback, but it is still nice to fill the slot with something more meaningful than just some armor. More problematic is the fact that poison damage is starting to fall off hard, and in the next act I really need a proper weapon, preferably a rule ward. With them defeated, I can now take Valkyrie's skill. She is a summon, a frontline warrior that can spawn with different equipment, and it is benefiting from almost every single passive skill in the same tree. So she can be great frontline warrior that will be holding the line pretty nicely. Bale was probably the worst. No, he was definitely the worst. I just hate fighting him so much. Most of the times in those challenges, he is the biggest hurdle to overcome, due to sheer amount of health he has and the annoying thing he do. And sure, I could run a lightning javelin build, as it is not as gear dependent, but this is way more fun and challenging. My objective in this act is quite simple. I can get enough runes to make an insight for both me and my mercenary, although he could probably pass with something like strength to deal better with bosses, thanks to that crushing blow, but I will need some work to get through Nightmare, that is certain. While rescuing Kane's set Kite Shield drop. This is Milabrega's orb, not the greatest thing ever, but it is something to consider if I wanted to push for more javelin oriented build. And earlier in normal I also found a set helmet from Eisenhearts. I didn't show it before as it is just very bad, but maybe the stars will align and push me to use it. Very nice, another set item drop. On my way to Countess I found a plated belt. Saigon's Wrap, much better than the one that I am using now, and oh my god, another set item. Jesus. Circlet this time. This one is pretty bad, but it gives some flat fire damage and 15 to strength. Finally, after several runs to Countess, I managed to get enough runes to at least make a couple of good items, especially Insight and Strength. But sadly, for that Insight to really work, I need an exceptional bow base, which I don't think will be that easy to find. I was able to find this 4 open socket reflex bow. This is still normal level base, but because I have too many Tal runes, let's at least upgrade the poison damage for now. Next, I created a safety ring to move crafting slot to something else, and I got myself a 20% increased attack speed gloves from Charcy. On my way to Smith, unique pair of heavy gloves drop. Those are Blood Fist, very decent option for me thanks to increased attack speed, faster hit recovery, some damage and great 40 life. I already have a unique slot occupied, so I will keep them in a stash for later. Of course, fighting Andariel with poison damage seems like a bad idea, and well, it absolutely is, but I don't have much alternatives for now. It is still good for farming, so if I have to get past one boss to have access to better farming places, I think it is well worth it. So at this point, if I would have an inside bow, I would hire a merc with Might Aura for that additional boost to physical damage. But since bulk of my damage comes from poison for now, it is much more important to actually hit the target to trigger the effect. So let's put a pin into that one and get a better weapon for later. At some point during the run, I took 2 points into Pierce passive. It allows my projectiles to pass through the enemies and hit what's behind them. It is basically mandatory for any bow, crossbow or javelin build to have, since it drastically improves the ability to clear higher densities, and in my current position it applies poison much faster, resulting in faster kill time. Another set item. Full plate mail, Tancred's Spine. 15 strength and 42 life. Not bad, but this base is heavy, so it will hinder my movement speed. So while it would not be terrible in terms of stats, movement speed is actually very important for me right now. Finally, I found an exceptional base with 2 open sockets for that strength for my mercenary. Malice already outlived its usefulness for this, and this one is much more powerful. It has some nice damage, life leech, strength, and of course the most important thing is the crushing blow chance, also useful against tougher enemies. Really, I had to rely on that crushing blow for dual fight, so keeping Hassin alive was top priority, so Decoy and Valkyrie were used for distraction, tagging the blows so my spearman can deliver the mighty attacks. Sadly, he died just as the fight was coming to an end, but quick trip back to town to revive him and we were good to go. Not much was happening in the beginning of the act, so I got to Lower Kurast very quickly and well, what do we have here? Right out of the gate there is a spot with super chests and teleporter is just behind the hut, meaning I could farm this place for some nice loot if I want to. I got to Travancore and killed the first elite that happened to be there before the temple, grabbed the flail, and then I realized that I never visited Endugu in his fetish-infested dungeon for Kalim's brain. It is happening much more frequent now, as usually I am getting to Gitbin, leave the portal there and just go on getting a teleporter stone in Lower Kurast, then backtracked from town, but it seems I simply forgot about my genius plan. Yeah, Mephisto again. Spam Valkyrie, attack whenever possible and just don't get hit. Easy peasy. What the hell is with him and double dropping the same item? Before tackling the next act, I decided to farm a bit for that bow base, but in the process I found a couple of items that I am showing you right now. Finally, found an exceptional bow base, in this case double bow. Not the best one, but at least it will always get 4 sockets when taken to Larzuk. So now I can do an inside bow, which as you can see is a major power boost, as previously my damage was just 90% poison over 5 seconds. Because now I am using a rune ward for weapon, I had to change my equipment a bit. So I swapped body armor for just gemmed breastplate, took Sanders gloves, plain white plated belt, and now I can take magic amulet for that, so I am just missing a plain ethereal item. Finally, to boost the damage, I hired Durga with Might Aura. Since bulk of my damage will come from physical source, you can see the difference here, without and with Aura, so every single arrow is now wreaking havoc. Oh yeah, and this was players 5. I am really missing that faster run walk from stealth. It is very noticeable. I would have to find boots with that, but the damage now is happening in an instant and it is very good, making clearing packs of monsters much easier, but also dealing with bulkier enemies like bosses is just happening faster, since there is no need to wait for the damage to happen. Really, I am glad that I chose to play with this build. It is very gear dependent, which this challenge is all about. but my god is Strafe fun to use. I know that on the higher ends it might not be viable, as it might just require such outlandish gear to perform, but man am I having a blast. Diablo as per usual deals an obscene amount of damage to my mercenary, but the Decoy and Valkyrie are very good at distracting the opponents, so I kept Durga alive as much as I could and later on just finished the fight with my bow. I grabbed another Shank for that reward, as I don't really think I will find a good base again on its own, and in the Frozen River I encountered 2 elite spirits that were both lightning and physical immune. This might, or rather will, become a bigger problem later on, so I am considering getting a bow with 6 open sockets just for that poison ticks in Maggot Lair or Arcane Sanctuary. Aside from getting the scroll from Mala, I also got a bow from Anya. It is pretty good, but it is still worse than Insight, and it is rare, so it is a no-go, as that slot is occupied by boots for now. Oh, finally, a set ring item dropped. This is Catan's Seal. It is beyond trash, but it opens up possibilities for different item slots to happen. It was something I was looking for, and right when I stepped out into Frozen Tundra, a rune bow dropped with 4 open slockets. God damn it! This has better base damage than the one that I have, although it is a bit slower. I won't remake my Insight, but I knew this would eventually happen. Ancients were rather easy, I just winged the fight, not even resetting it once. Well, it wasn't necessary really, as they did not have any affixes that could quickly aid them in ending my frontline, so with that I just stood in the back firing an endless hail of arrows. We teared through Bale Waves to arrive at the boss himself, and Strafe is exceptional at dealing with his appendages. I mean, clearing those is just a joy. Only problem I have now is the lack of cannot be frozen, as being slowed down can lock me in animation, resulting in my death. Right after dealing with Lord of Destruction, I set out to get a couple of items. One slot is still unoccupied, that is plain ethereal item. So now I wanted to get a belt in that one, white boots, better body armor base and elite base for Insight. But of course in farming process I got a couple of items. First thing I did in hell was to craft however many blood gloves I can. In this case it was 9 pairs of those. I was looking for 20% faster attack speed and however many crushing blow I can get with that, with maximum of 10%. And since crushing blow also works with missile attacks, I think this is the best slot for that crafted item I can get. With a few additions from that farming session and those blood gloves, I reshuffled my gear a bit to include Dwarf Star Ring in unique slot, and this is what I came up with for the time being. I still need to get 4 open slots light body armor for more resistances, but it does not look half bad at the moment, and for the first time ever I have item in every slot, if you count arrows as an item. For gloves I opted now for maximum crushing blow and some defense stats, since the ones I got with 20% attack speed had minimum crushing blow and poison resistance, making this bar a bit better in my eyes, but I need to see how good will be with Strafe. Normally, I mean with melee attacks, crushing blow deals 25% of current monster life for normal enemies and 12.5% versus champions, uniques and bosses. Those values are halved with missile attacks. But even though they are much lower, I can still see the benefit of this, especially with Strafe, and how many attacks I can get in one attack. It is clear to me that I need a better weapon. Not that I cannot progress, but it is certain that everything is happening a little slow, and I don't want to think how it would be without those gloves really. They make sizable part of my damage now. Now I decided to do a little stroll through the previous areas to find an elite bow base, and I found something very interesting. Set bramble myths, laying of hands, those are truly great. 20% faster attack speed, 50% fire resistance and massive 350% damage to demons. It might be a very good alternative if I need one. I didn't have much luck in hell finding anything good, so I went back to Nightmare and oh my god! First drop was a unique legend sword Dreadfang, new addition to the game. This thing is a beast, chance to cast amplified damage, immense speed and damage, some attack rating, deadly strike, free 2 mirrored blades for Warlock and even some lower requirements. I would like this in a bow form. Change of plans. I think the game was trying to tell me something, but I realized it a bit too late. Instead of looking for inside base, I have two possible bases for Mania, which would be an amazing weapon to get, but for that I need a core rune, which I intend to get one way or another. After many countess and lower Kurast runs, I finally got enough low runes to cube 3 lamb into Ko, and now I can use my free open socket shadow bow to create Mania. It has massive damage and speed, some prejudice against undead, 10 dexterity, and it also grants level 1 fanaticism and chance to get level 1 burst of speed, which I think it will be an amazing for this build. The damage nearly doubled at this stage, as you can see the comparison on the screen, but I have one more idea to explore. But first, let's create Bulwark Helmet for massive physical resistance boost and life. And now I could not stop thinking about that Dreadfang. So you know what? I hired Klaatu the Barbarian that can utilize the sword and that nice helmet, together with just random resistance body armor. I think this might be a good strategy to make use of that amplified damage. Sure, I lost meditation from Insight and might from Mercenary, but I gained a lot of damage, speed and most importantly, the ability to break physical immunities with amplified damage. As you can see, I am shooting like a freaking machine gun. For Andariel, she was tough in the beginning, until she got debuffed by Battlecry and Curse. Then her health started dropping very fast. I was able to hit her consistently thanks to lower defense and amp damage. This just really elevating this whole build to a new level, it almost seems mandatory. Check this out, both Fanaticism and Burst of Speed is giving me attack speed. The animation is looking so funny now as she is just shooting without thinking, and Shadow Bow as a base is not even the fastest one from the elite tier. So I knew from the moment I decided to play this build seriously in this run that Maggot Lair and Arcane Sanctuary both will be very difficult for the very same obvious reason. Physical immune monsters. I didn't want to use teleport staff as it would just mean I will have to reshuffle my equipment around, just to accommodate that. I was thinking also about switching builds just for this bit. So the fact that I got a Dreadfang dropped and Klaatu can use it to break immunities is just such a godsend. It was also the very first unique legend sword I found, making it even more special. In the Viper Temple I found a pull rune which could be used for Wisdom Runeward Helmet. As for this build, it would be very beneficial, thanks to piercing attack chance, attack rating, mana stolen per hit and cannot be frozen. All the things I need to make it even more powerful, but the Runeward slot is occupied. Like I stated before, I am able to go through Arcane Sanctuary rather consistently, and quickly I was fighting Duriel. While firing my volleys at him, I realized I was mistaken. It seems that Amplified Damage and Battle Cry occupy the same debuff slot, meaning that they cannot be activated at the same time. So it is complicating things a little bit, but both are still very good for me. At this point my gear is good enough to complete the run with it, mostly because the weapon is doing enough damage to kill every encountered monster. The only problem now is my health pool, which is still under 1000 since I had to put about half of my hard points into dexterity to wield the bow. Level 78 and I managed to max out Strafe and both of its synergies, guided arrow and multiple shot for maximum damage. I ended up not using the skiller I found as it wasn't giving me much advantage. Because this is hardcore, I did invest a lot of points into Valkyrie for much needed protection, and I think that every spare point will be invested right there too. Whenever there is a chance to hire a different mercenary than Spearman from Act 2, I am jumping on that wagon, especially when it is Barbarian from Act 5. I really love those in Resurrected, but usually in SSF runs they are simply not relevant, so I am very happy that in this case it was a very good call by me to do so, granting that getting him a Dreadfang on normal character might be a legitimately good strategy. This is like going through a minefield. I am so terrified of those stupid dolls. There is just no chance I am stepping forward any soon. Valkyrie and Klaatu are doing an admirable job at keeping me safe, but also Decoy is an unsung hero here, as it draws attention even if I cast it next to me. Thankfully, Mephisto was probably the easiest boss in Hell thus far. Only thing I had to worry about was to resummon Valkyrie, so he can have an additional target and keep Klaatu alive, which honestly wasn't that hard. Right out of the bat, when I entered the Plains of Despair, I got an amazing drop, Set Occult Codex, which is Horazon's secret, Warlock only tome. It is boosting Eldritch skills, gives faster hit recovery and increased block, and also massively boosts lives of a Warlock. Now I am only missing boots from this set. We arrived at the Hellforge, cleared the perimeter and well, Hephasto had Stone Skin. But because road here was long, I didn't want to backtrack again to reset it. Instead, I let Klaatu bully him into oblivion, breaking the immunity, and finally, after his death we crushed the Soulstone for the last time, getting a good rune. East dropped before me, so I gladly claim it. Running through Chaos Sanctuary with current items is kind of scary. This build in this state is just kind of lacking. I am waiting for that amplified damage proc every time we start the fight, as without it it's just too damn hard to kill the packs of enemies with relative ease. That said, I am very curious how would this perform if I could farm some more and maybe tackle some harder objectives like Ubers in the future. Diablo is exposing my one glaring weakness: lack of attack rating. This build relies on hitting targets reliably, but lack of good items that could mend it is detrimental. Sometimes when Battlecry is applied it is noticeably better, but it is getting cycled with amp damage, so there is no guarantee. Diablo dropped two uniques: Ghost Armor, Spirit Shroud, which is very nice with Cannot Be Frozen, and Long Battle Bow, Wizendraw. Remember when I was looking for the elite spirit bases? Yeah, I found two of those in the first area of this act, and now I am furious. Although I must say that this Grand Matron bow is probably the best Faith base too. Man, I loved this challenge. I don't know when was the last time I had so much fun in this game. Maybe it was the fact that I had to really navigate carefully which item pieces were worth it at the time, or the fact that I picked Amazon and the build that is entirely dependent on the quality of gear it utilizes, but mostly probably the combination of both. There were times that I wanted to change the build to lightning throwing javelin, as I also found a one with lower resist charges that could break the immunities, but it would be a very easy way out as that build is just broken 90% of the times. I wanted to be challenged here, look for a solution and eventually overcome it. And this build is just so much fun to play. Watching Amazon shooting like a freaking machine gun, auto-aiming everything in sight, That said, I think Strafe has one major issue. It will target as many monsters in the closest vicinity as possible, and I don't think there is a way to focus fire in one direction or one enemy on demand, aside from isolating them from the group. Still, I don't think there are many players that is utilizing this in the endgame, as there are just better alternatives for Amazon, yet I am still compelled to see if there is any future for it, and if there is even a remote possibility of doing something more with it if I have the right gear. In current state, bosses were the ones that were giving me the most trouble. Since my mercenary does not have any crushing blow, it is up to me to deal damage, and my attack rating is simply not high enough to hit them half of the time, thus taking a lot of time to kill them. Challenge completed at level 81. Points are divided between dexterity and vitality with a dash of strength. I almost maxed out Valkyrie and got every single skill in passive and magic. Maxed out Strafe, guided arrow and multiple shot for synergies. In terms of items, Klaatu has makeshift armor with resistances, Dreadfang sword and bulwark helmet. I have blood gloves, dwarf star, plain ethereal spiderweb sash that is broken, rare ring, white wormhide boots, makeshift resistance breastplate, mania shadow bow, berserker's headgear for fire resistance, and magic amulet with 20 to all resistances. Also, bunch of very useful charms that were mostly prioritized for resistances and dexterity. This was insanely fun, and I recommend you both the build and the challenge. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more games and gaming videos. Check out my other videos too. Like it if you liked it, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and as always, Challenger departs.